Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to Quake Pro League Week 18. I am 40 Lions, joined by Lethal, and for the last time this season, I would like to welcome DJ Wheat.
Oh, I thought you were about to say for the last time ever, and then I was a little worried. Like, what do you have in store for
what
us
do you
at
know that I don't?
Unbelievable, unbelievable.
Gentlemen, great to be here. I cannot believe 18 weeks has gone by. I cannot believe QuakeCon is right around the corner. I mean, the storylines this season have been absolutely incredible, and I think it's going to be just explosive in Texas. Amazing Quake, probably some heat. And according to Razy, the most impressive chicken salad he's ever had in his life.
We'll see about that.
I mean, the trifecta, I don't know, maybe get rid of the heat, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. But we got one more match here today.
We do, and it's going to be a good one. It's going to be Rafa versus nosfa. That's what I'm looking forward to right now, focusing up on finishing the season strong. Rafa, absolute monster, and it's kind of weird. It's not going to get the first seed. Wenger already locked it in at number 1. Rafa fighting to make sure he stays at number 2. Whether that happens or not is really all on nosfa, and if he could play spoiler to it. I mean, I'll see if he knocks him down a peg or not, or if that's even viable. I don't know how leaderboards work. All I know is that Rafa's looking pretty strong this season. As we take a look at the breakdown, look at that. Almost perfect, but Zanaku and Maxter made sure that that wasn't the case this season.
Yeah, so I know your maths and English is super good, but Rafa, yeah, he should guarantee himself his second seed here, considering the points and, of course, his win rate as well. And, yeah, look at the dubs across the board. Only losing to Zen 2-1 and Maxter 3-0 a few weeks ago, which was quite uncharacteristic. But we'll have to see how Rafa performs. But we know how highly consistent he can be. And, yeah, it's going to be a tough nut to crack here for nosfa.
It will be, but, you know, I think is a player who has definitely not only been bringing it this season, but is looking to take a lot of momentum into the finals. Now, does that mean that he's got a clear road? Absolutely not. Tough matchup. The last guardian for nosfa's season right here, but still, you know, some ups and downs. I still some like reasonable victories there as well. I do think that this is going to be the tough one here for nosfa. Bigger mountain to climb. Rafa looking to just take one more win into that finals.
Yeah, not a bad run from nosfa, especially the last couple weeks. Ending on a win streak. This one's going to be a little bit tougher, but if he is able to beat Rafa, there is a ×5 multiplier for nosfa, so we'll see. But anyways, let's get into the pick bands here, see exactly what we have in store for the last set of regulation in Quake Pro League for this season. Blood Covenant into Corrupted Keep for the first time today, and Ruins even. Oh, some new maps for today. I will let either of you talk about the champs. Anybody take it away.
I'll go for it first. I'll go for it first to see how things go. I think Slash, Anarchy, very standard for Blood Covenant. BJ and Ranger, again, very standard considering the Strog has already been banned after that first map pick. But the last one, we don't normally see Ruins quite often, especially with Rafa, because he normally bans it outright almost every time, or the majority of the time, kind of like Kilson is with Vale. And we have the Sorlag versus the DK. DK being whipped out once again. Nyx has been banned. There were other options, but it seems like he's going to be running the Sorlag. Sorlag's been a little bit more popular today for the right and the wrong reasons, but I think for Rafa this time around, Sorlag will be a lot more beneficial for him on Ruins in comparison.
Yeah, I mean, seeing the DK there on Ruins, definitely an interesting matchup here for this series for map number 3. I think the other one that has just like been a story is kind of Corrupted Keep and right, this BJ versus Ranger matchup that we've been seeing, and we've seen it go both ways. I think the difference in what we've seen in the latter half of the season is I think that people have just gotten better at utilizing dual wield with BJ. So, you know, Rafa, probably no exception there. It will be up to nosfa to see how he's going to be able to use or momentum to try to stop Corrupted Keep, which has been traditionally a pretty strong map for Rafa. And then, you know, on Blood Covenant, we've seen this matchup before. We've seen the Battle of the Lights, and oftentimes we're creating these long-range battles that are kind of rail-focused. I do think that the Slash with just a little bit of an advantage advantage there. However, we've seen, you know, Anarchy play that matchup quite well. So the map number 3 is a bit of a surprise in terms of the champion matchup, but the other two I think are kind of par for the course.
So my favorite time, predictions, especially since we don't let chat do them anymore. Wheat, how do you feel about this one? What are your predictions?
Yeah, you know, I think at this point, both players are clearly gearing up for QuakeCon. I'm going to be pretty adamant about my prediction here in that I think Rafa is probably a player who, gearing up for a LAN event, is putting in like some serious time. Not to say that nosfa or other players aren't, but we kind of know what mode Rafa gets into prior to these types of events. So I'm going to be surprised if it's not a 3-0 for Rafa. That's where I stand.
Lethal?
I'm going to say 2-1 only because we know that both these players are actually equally as good on Blood Covenant. I kind of feel like nosfa's got better and better, especially over the last 18 months on Blood Covenant, how he's been performing. He's been adapting very well on that map. The third map is, for me, this is where I think nosfa will take that one particular map, even on the first or the last one, because of that Sorlag pick. I'm not too sure how he's going to perform with it in terms of Rafa's side. Of course, you can use it for defensive purposes with the spit. You could have gone with Eisen as well, but with Eisen, it's a little bit more situational with the turret, isn't it? So we'll have to see how we can do. But, you know, it's nice to see DK once again. Seeing it on Ruins is not something we see every day either, but of course, it can be such a useful tool with that Flame Strike.
Since nobody cares about what I think anyway, I'm going to say nosfa 3-0 because it doesn't matter. I either look like a genius or everyone's like, yeah, 40's an idiot. So I win either way. But I will leave you two to take over this one and bring us the action. Appreciate you both, and I'll see you in a little bit.
40, before you leave, I want you,
yes.
You know, you're going to have these like 3 games. That's approximately 30 minutes with probably another, you know, 8 or so minutes on top of that.
Love it.
I really want you to, just come with like a solid interview question with whoever.
Okay. Chicken salad.
Right? Like
everybody knows already. Everybody knows. Spoilers, it's going to be about chicken salad. I'm very consistent.
Great.
It's the only thing
Thank
I
you,
am
sir.
consistent with.
Thank
All
you,
right,
sir.
get me out of here. Yank me, PGL. Get me out. Get me out.
That would not surprise me in the absolute slightest of the shenanigans he's going to bring up in that interview. I feel sorry for whoever's going to win this, actually, more than anything else.
Yeah, that might be true. But Lethal is amazing to think that like 18 weeks, when we started week 1, we were like 18 weeks is forever, but here we are. Players are looking really great. Probably the first QuakeCon that we've ever gone into where there's been just such a toss-up on who could potentially walk away as the champion. And there are the usual suspects, you know, but it's hard to pick out of the lineup who has the ability to capture that belt. And so, a great match to kind of end the regular season with, but even more exciting as we go in, and who knows what's going to happen in August at QuakeCon.
Yeah, you couldn't make it up. There's only 2.5 weeks left remaining, and with these players, we always say it's the most competitive year we've ever had. Like we say it every single year, like a broken record. But normally there's like 2 to 4 players we can kind of grasp of who's going to win this. But I think there's up to 6 players now who could easily put a spanner in the works, or maybe be a dark horse to take the entire thing. Because honestly, offline, anything could happen. We've seen some really close series.
Yep.
It's been very back and forth. We haven't had a particular person to be super dominant in the lead. There's been a lot of maps dropped here and there. That we'll find out very shortly. Let's go into this series now to Rafa and nosfa, as we're going to kick things off on Blood Covenant with the Slash versus Anarchy pick. Kicking things off from Rafa's perspective, picking up that light first to delay the heavy just a tad, and pick up all the weapons in this arsenal momentarily.
Yep, I'm again, I kind of said, we're going to have an early exchange actually over near Mega, and that is going to open up a big opportunity there. I'm not sure if nosfa was even expecting that, but Rafa in a great spot. He had the better stack. He landed those nails early on, and then was very easy to pick up that next frag. And he's just going to make it 2 real quick. And Rafa already looking pretty phenomenal here, Lethal, in the first 40 seconds.
Yeah, and he's barely taken any damage from that first engagement. The second one took a little bit, but not enough to turn the tide. He'll create that trade potential as we're still only around that first minute mark. Good LG coming out there from Rafa. Almost hit that rocket as well, but it's going to be backing away just to know some of his weaponry as well. Looking to see where he could be, directly underneath, but he's got his trail ready and waiting as he's going to go straight up. That's Heavy staircase. Heavy is up, manages to steal it. And now just biding his time in terms of what decision he'd like to make. But respectively, though, he's just going to go for that Mega and probably drop for the light straight afterwards, as nosfa won't be in position to put a stop to that.
Yeah, I think that Rafa's probably a little disappointed at that little exchange over there at the Heavy. The rocket was just a hair away from doing some damage and then missed that rail. But, you know, 2 frags ahead, nothing to really worry about, no reason to get upset. Gonna use a Heavy machine gun from up top. We've been seeing more players do that and then dropping down exactly as Rafa did just to get that long-range damage. Even lands the rail to pretty much negate anything that he got from that Heavy. And now nosfa is in serious need of some kind of a stack. This might give Rafa an open door of opportunity. He does hit a nice shot there, has opponent there stuck on the rail curve, and I think he's gonna go after it to cheat this up. Finds him once again on the stairs, and what does nosfa do? He's keeping him out of stack and hitting all these shots.
Certainly is. I think Rafa did have him at the corner of his eye as going past, but decides to prioritise the Mega for now. Almost got that trail back, but yeah, he's putting a huge amount of pressure onto nosfa. He's been on a very weak stack for a very long time, finally able to get a light and a little bit of health along the way, but this is nosfa's job. He needs to just try and stay alive for as long as physically possible. He's not really in a position to contest any of these items as of yet. As Rafa's now going to pick up that Heavy, but he needs to get to that Mega as soon as possible. I don't think he's going to get him in time at all, which is going to give nosfa, again, a little bit of breathing room now. Hasn't picked up the Mega as of yet, but because he hasn't picked it up, he can now continue to do some damage with that Heavy machine gun, maybe even the rail on top. But now the stacks are equal. nosfa's done a good job staying alive. Yeah. And making sure to bring himself back in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, you can really see where the speed is just helping from mobility perspective for Rafa here. You know, he's cut off nosfa a couple times, but as you mentioned, Lethal, nosfa doing at least a good job of trying to manage, take away that stack for Rafa. Gonna have another exchange. Oh, no! Fell down. I was watching through Rafa, so I don't know how that jump went awry, but that is rough. Even the eject came out, but it could not save him. And he follows up with a second frag. Lethal, that was unfortunate, an unforced error, and that gives 2 additional frags here to Rafa.
Cool, blimey. Yeah, this is like championship mentality now, as he's just continuing to do everything feasibly possible in order to continue to pile on this pressure. Misses that first rail, but some good damage coming down from nosfa. He's still got 6 minutes left to play with in this matchup, but if we go into the stats, you can see that actually Rafa's done almost twice the amount of damage, and the percentages almost equal in terms of the rail percentages, 33 and 30. But it's not been too rail heavy as of yet, but it's still quite early on as you catch him, but luckily was able to use that mobility to get away just a little bit from being in too much trouble here as Rafa is backing away.
Yeah, and going to be able to get that Mega, which is a bit unfortunate here for nosfa. He was in the right position, but using that crouch slide to get over to the other side is exactly what Rafa was hoped to be able to do with this champ pick versus his opponent. Trail does come out, but it doesn't even matter. Heavy's going to be up. And you know, not much here. Well, there's a nice rail. All right, he's going to land another one as they're going to go toe-and-toe here. This time the Heavy machine gun comes out very, very low. Goes for the circle strafe, crouch slide, and in the process, we see nosfa getting his first frag. And you mentioned there were 6 minutes left, now down to just under 5 minutes, but still within reach here for nosfa, especially if he can you know, do exactly what he just did right there. Find Rafa, tear him down, and there is now a 4 frag lead, only a 2 frag lead for Rafa.
Oh, making it 1 now. This is looking really good for nosfa, turning things around entirely on its head. Total role reversal, but can't get too overzealous here, as it might have done as Rafa comes literally straight on in with those rockets, but now it's only going to be a 2 frag lead. Misses that first rail, which is going to matter a little bit here, as it's just tickling him with that machine gun. Picks up the Mega, now going straight in towards the Heavy. I love that decision from Rafa. Just keep the height advantage instead. If you can tag him, great. But if not, it doesn't matter. He'll be able to pick up this Heavy nonetheless. Let's have that trail in hand. Good rocket there from nosfa. Not a huge amount of damage, but enough to give him a bit of leeway later on.
Yeah, some great timing on those rockets from nosfa. I like that, and I think you have to do that, right? Find those areas where you can sort of cut your opponent off with a nicely timed rocket, or even waiting for the rail. Oftentimes we see this happen. The trail pops, and nosfa definitely says, I'm not going through that teleporter. I think that was a pretty wise move. Things have equalized here a little bit as Rafa now back in where he was at before with that stack. And nosfa has caught up quite a bit in terms of damage. Rafa's still in lead by about 500 overall, but those frags definitely helped him kind of get back into things and gets the inject before the teleporter. And Rafa kind of knows that if he can land a rail, this could end up in another frag, but nosfa actually faking heading towards the rocket launcher and then coming back, and it kind of gave him some space.
That trail back. Good rail from nosfa. Another one from nosfa. This is huge. This was the chip he was looking for, and that rocket was huge for nosfa now to try and comply with. Oh, that 105 from that tribal.
That was, he's very happy that that Mega was there. That was a super, super great tribal. And now, inject, trail, rockets aren't doing much, and Rafa, I think that was just a bad position to be fighting from for nosfa, and Rafa capitalizes, gets the frag.
Yeah, I think he was hoping to get a little bit more there, but probably extend a little bit too far there. Rafa now just looking to stay alive. Got a couple minutes left. Covering from that previous engagement. As Heavy will be his. Momentarily, but nosfa's a little bit out of position. But he's had some really good shots actually coming out, but does get taken down. nosfa stayed a little bit longer than he should have done because he knows that time is running out. Good try by Volt, but the shotgun's going to be even better. 8-3 straight in the face. 90 seconds left and 5 frag deficit for nosfa to claw back from.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty tough here, especially given the speed that Rafa's got behind him. But almost clawed it back, Lethal, like a really solid attempt. And when nosfa did open up an opportunity, he was able to convert at least 2 frags. There was a couple other chances where, you know, I think he was real close, but just not enough. Rafa staying of 1 step ahead of nosfa, and that's going to be 9-3 with still a minute to go. No way for nosfa to bring this one back, and this first game is going to go to Rafa.
Yeah, certainly will do indeed. I think it was going to be, well, I thought it was going to be even worse considering the scoreline and the start that Rafa had, but nosfa was able to claw back a little bit with those 3 back-to-back frags earlier, but it's not paved much way, sadly, for him so far. It's 22 items for Rafa and 11 for nosfa here. Both of them haven't got the best rail and LG percentages, but it's all been about the strategic influence Rafa's had in terms of his position and adapting to where and how nosfa's going to go in this matchup. nosfa does take him down, but the damage has been done. 20 seconds left here. And as you rightly mentioned, first map going to Rafa, and we'll have to see if that's going to be a trend which is going to continue, or if nosfa will be able to claw it back in these next couple maps.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. Obviously, this is like a little tough. You know, we did have the moment in which nosfa kind of missed the jump over to Mega that resulted in a frag. Another one, right? Even if we were to say, okay, those 2 didn't happen, right? In a perfect world, nosfa hit that jump, Rafa backed off. It's still 7-5, but those sort of unforced errors, I think, is. Right, you give those up to Rafa, and he is 1,000% going to take full advantage of those. That's pretty much how I expected that game to go. I actually felt like there was that moment where nosfa might be able to claw this one back. Right, he played as conservative as I think he needed to in those opening minutes. Still allowed Rafa to get those 4 frags, but didn't give up too much of a lead. But as he started clawing it back, the moment Rafa got control again, it didn't seem to be too much of a challenge for him to take the game.
It's quite worrying how Rafa was so dominant in that first map and only had a 20% rail accuracy. Like, that's actually absurd. If he was hitting his shots, that could have done way, way worse for nosfa, and it would have been even more of a ridiculous scoreline there, as you can see there. For the LGs, 35% LG from Rafa anyway, but only that 20% with the rail, but he'll hopefully be able to change that a little bit going into these next 2 maps. But we said it before, nosfa's made a lot of improvements in his Blood Covenant game over the last couple of years. Sadly, Rafa is still one of his, not go-to maps, but definitely one of his better maps statistically from what we've seen in the regular season Pro League over the last few years as well. But that's the first one done. And that's it, going into Corrupted Keep, which will be the BJ pick versus the Ranger. Won't be seeing any Strog because nosfa did ban that Strog in the first map. And we'll get that Ranger pick first, which is lovely to see him. And getting into the final map, Sorlag versus the DK. Definitely a combination we're not really accustomed to. But yeah, it should make things a little bit more interesting. Because, of course, in the Quake World Championships, when we get to, you know, that best of 5 territory, the
yeah, when you get there, you're going to have to, right? You're going to have to go deep into your map pool, deep into your champion pool. And so I'm not surprised, like, when we see closer to the end of the season, you know, some of those situations where, right, you, like, players are testing some things out or trying different champions, or, you know, just being ready for that, because you've got to prepare for that if you are going to climb through the ranks there at QuakeCon. Okay, apparently I'm by myself now. Lethal just completely disconnected, and 40 planned all of this. So well done, 40. All right, well, we're still jumping into Corrupted Keep. I feel like I'm back in the old Shoutcast days, just solo casting. We'll get Lethal back. Hope you are excited for QuakeCon, which is just a few weeks away. If you are attending in person, I hope that you'll come and say hi. And don't worry, 40 doesn't bite. So, you know, please come and say hi. So, all right, here we go as we are getting started here with map number 2. Rafa takes map 1 on Blood Covenant. That was, I believe, 9-5. I forgot to write down the score, but that's okay. It's Rafa on the BJ and Ranger, and nosfa on the Ranger, and we're gonna kick things off through the eyeballs of Rafa. I expect to see. Oh, hey! What up?
He's dead. He's locked in my basement, so I'm here now. I don't know if I'm coming through on the broadcast, but
I mean, I hear you, so it might just be one of those weird things where I'm like talking to myself, but
which is still cool. I'm still into that.
It is. It's like it's 40's ghost, but only I can hear him. So
spooky.
Yeah, I don't know if they can or not, but yeah, here we are in map number 2, Corrupted Keep. And welcome back, 40, as we have not yet seen this first frag and have a lot of exchange, but no frag yet.
No frag indeed. Map number 1 was a bit of a barn burner. We saw some frustration coming out from Rafa. We'll see if we're going to see more of that. If nosfa's just eating that tri-bolt, though. Rafa's so good with that. Also, again, best skin in the game. Just saying. Love the water balloons. Big fan.
Yeah. I do too. I like the sound of it quite a bit as well. So we haven't really seen Orb or Dual Wheel come out yet. In fact, I would say that both players are just kind of playing their side of the map. And that's, you know, totally fine there. We see some machine gun damage coming out, actually a fair amount, even followed up with that nice tri-bolt liquid. Rafa with a little bit better stack here. And looking to go in. He's not going to be able to grab that mega, but does get the heavy.
Decent stack for both players here as nosfa just trying to hang on and not get cornered. There's the dire orb to try and counteract the dual wield LG on LG, and nosfa does an immense amount of damage, but Rafa inevitably grabs that first frag, uses the BJ passive, grabs 2 bubbles as well. Should be kind of healthy to maybe fight this off and fight for the mega, but it's really up to him to dictate exactly what he wants to do. And now he's catching nosfa out in the red room. This is huge.
That was a really nice decision there by Rafa. I think he had a really good idea that nosfa was actually there, but he kind of kept himself hidden, waited a second, let nosfa think maybe he was safe, moved out, and that's when he was able to capitalize on that. He's going to go for this again. Oh, just barely missing that shotgun blast, but that does allow nosfa to get on the board. And while there's some anger behind that dual wield right there. Rafa is very, very low, but he decided to try to go for it. He unfortunately was not able to do anything, and nosfa walks away with still one clean frag.
That was brutal because he ran out of LG, and the shotgun just let him down. Shoddy Pippin, usually so reliable. And you can kind of see that frustration. Rafa dancing, and there's the frag, the combo. A little bit of insurance with the Dire Orb, and now LG off the spawn. nosfa should be able to take the lead, and he does.
All right, I mean, this is really good because I think from the start, we saw Rafa pretty much hold on to that dual wield. An opportunity arose. He easily took out nosfa, was able to get another frag off of that. But nosfa, climbing back with a couple frags of his own, that orb was just beautifully placed, allowing him to take the lead here, and now putting Rafa on the back foot to try to fight here. And a little bit of aggression between these two, kind of like trying to figure out how much damage did I do? Can I go for it? I like it. There's risks being taken here. The scoreline's still pretty close, 40. So I think, right, there's plenty of time, and I think that's a completely viable risk to take.
Yeah, I mean, nosfa a little bit, maybe too much respect on that heavy, not even showing up to do a little bit of damage, but I understand it. He has the lead. He doesn't want to do anything too crazy, but I feel like based on the positioning, he could have done a little something. Decent rocket into MG, might go him around the corner, does have the Dire Orb that's been so lucrative before, forcing Rafa out of the angles, and now on the double bubbles, and there it is, and the dual wield got burned,
I mean, this is what you kind of expect to see happen in a BJ Ranger matchup, but that completely depends on, right, the Ranger's ability to land those orbs. And so far, nosfa's done a great job. He takes a lot of damage there off of that last spawn from Rafa, but immediately gets the mega. And it's going to result in yet another frag. And I'm a little concerned here because Rafa is just kind of eating it right here. There is finally a trade, as I wasn't sure if Rafa was just going to let nosfa have that one, but things, I guess, equalize yet again.
Indeed, nosfa needs to be careful here. Rafa coming in quick, and the Dire Orb's gone, and now Rafa has full map control. He spawned on the heavy. He just made a great play onto the mega, and we should see Rafa maybe extend here. He does need to be careful because nosfa's hitting some great shots. Don't get me wrong, but this is a big opportunity for Rafa to get control back and maybe get the lead a little bit dwindled here as he does use dual wield. Grabs the bubbles, or excuse me, the time shards, and is able to grab the heavy. Now the next cycle of mega might be huge for both these players.
90 points of damage there with that machine gun, finishing off with the LG, and this game went from a 4 frag lead for nosfa down to 2. And you are really seeing just how much abilities are playing a part in this matchup. And so far, dual wield, with the exception of the one time that Rafa was mad and just pulled him out for trying to get the machine gun kill, it's resulted in a frag. But nosfa has hit the kind of the perfect orbs offensively. So let's see if that's going to be able to allow him to keep this lead, hitting the 4-minute remaining mark. And nosfa still holding on to a solid lead with 2.
Rafa down to 1 rocket. I like how he extended kind of the space that he had a little bit, adding a little more delay. And again, depending on how this next fight goes, it's going to try and extend his control over the map. Great machine gun from Rafa there. He's going to deny the lower light as he makes his way back to the heavy. Slowly but surely, another fantastic rocket for nosfa. He's going to need more of that. The dual wield nosfa trying to steal mega, and that does not work. And this is very concerning, Wade.
Yeah, that was a great read. That was a great read. Full map control, you're right. The read on the orb was perfect with the dual wield coming out. But still 1 frag game, so nosfa has to play off of the spawn really smart. There's some big LG damage coming out from Rafa. He's kind of got his opponent stuck down below, has an idea where he's running to, goes into the red room, almost almost finishes him off, but nosfa just getting out of there by the skin of his teeth. He holds on to that frag, but Rafa knows he's very, very low, can use that to dish out more damage, but more importantly, 40, keep that control.
Yeah, very, very tight grasp over the map. Again, giving up that light, and he's, oh! nosfa got a little turned around there from that pre-fire with the rocket. He's like, wait, where'd you hit me from? Now he has to use his dire orb just to get out of there. And again, the light armor goes to Rafa, more control being extended over the map. As Rafa doing a great job of cycling the majors, but also slowly chipping away and taking away the lights. Tied at 7, and it's looking very, very concerning for nosfa Wheat.
Yeah, I mean, just taking a look, 11 heavies, 9 megas for Rafa versus 4 heavies, 6 megas for nosfa. Damage actually quite equal, but nosfa with just a little bit more. Scoreline tied 7-7, and I'm a little bit worried now because not only does Rafa sit nicely with full control, but he's kind of got nosfa backed into that corner. It's going to allow him to grab the heavy and probably set up here for mega. In fact, he catches his opponent in the red room. Orb goes out. It's just a fake, but it doesn't matter. Rafa stays with control. All he's got to do is really hold on to this, find an opportunity to try to nail that last frag and take the lead. And so far, he's set up nicely for a foundation to do that, but doesn't matter till that score says 8.
Dual wield in. He wants to try and grab this heavy. nosfa decent position on this. He's going to drop and he's going to steal it. And actually, fantastic rockets. nosfa needs to try and finish this 10 HP. nosfa hanging by a thread as well. And Rafa comes out on top. What a close fight that was.
It was so close. In fact, I thought for certain nosfa was going to take that one, but Rafa somehow manages, goes around to the other side, pulls out the shoddy, and gets the job done. 1 minute remaining, still an opportunity here. Rafa very, very low. nosfa knows it. He drops down. Oh my gosh, Rafa goes for it, and nosfa gets the frag. He is so low right now. 50 seconds left, and it is a tied game, 8-8. Rafa knows that he can't really offer the spawn, just go for that kill, but he's gonna pop the dual wheel, grab that mega, and see if he can try to clean up right here. nosfa sticking around despite being pretty low, and he is trying to go for it. Both players so low. I can't even believe it, 40.
This one's so close. It's going to come down to this. nosfa gets caught out. 25 seconds left. Rafa has the lead. He also has the heavy armor, so now he just has to play defensive. It's all a matter of nosfa grabbing what he can and just throwing his body at the problem. And right now, it's just machine gun Wheat.
Oh, that is, I cannot believe this last 90 seconds of this game. That was totally ridiculous. I thought, again, nosfa kind of sticking around and a little worried about it. Oh, the rocket oh wow. My God. That could have turned out so horribly for Rafa. And I'll be honest, 40, I was not expecting that particular map to be that close. I think nosfa played really, really well. He had those 2 beautiful orbs that resulted in frags. The end of that game was fairly chaotic. Like, I can't believe that Rafa actually
speechless
pulled out of there. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy because nosfa had such good control, but you see how Corrupted Keep is all about extending your control and maintaining it. And once Rafa got a little bit of his foot in the door, that was it. He started denying the lights. He got a clean kill to start it all. But nosfa did really good initially to make sure that he took advantage off a frag and used the spawn frags, rocket jumping around, positioning in red room. This trade was actually pretty huge for Rafa, being able to get a machine gun kill off the spawn. And just a really back and forth. And a lot of the dire orbs, unfortunately, for nosfa came up short. Like, we saw him use them last-ditch effort, and then you spawn with no dire orb. And in fact, the last 25 seconds, he had no dire orb to try and chase and cut off. And all those little micro decisions kind of came up huge. This fight was gigantic. I don't know how Rafa came out 10 HP, just barely with the drive-by.
It was a really smart decision by Rafa to kind of switch angles through that door and then back to the red room to if he got the frag. I mean, again, I think a great display of where at this level you've kind of got to take risks. That one could have been a game-winning or game-ending risk at that point. Right, if nosfa would have gotten the kill there, I think it would have been his game. So a quick thinking there from Rafa to kind of divert the angle which he was attacking from. I think that was surprising to nosfa.
Yeah, and it kind of, I mean, that has to be frustrating and kind of break your spirit a little bit. I know he's a professional, but like you have the lead by so much and you just let it slip away and you end up losing by 1 after some very, very close clutch fights. He's going to watch the VOD and be like, fuck, man, he had 10 HP. Like, it just hurts a little bit. But we still have map number 3. nosfa still has to keep his head in the game, try and finish out the season strong as we take a look at the recap for map number 1 and 2, getting ready for map number 3. Sorlag versus the DK. I think previously, before the set started, we talked about how DK was kind of an interesting pick, especially on Ruins. We'll see exactly what nosfa has in store in terms of utilizing the Flame Strike. I feel like at the Heavy and maybe even the Mega, probably big damage potential, but will Rafa allow that? I mean, his positioning is going to be really good.
It's still, you know, I get it. In theory, it makes a lot of sense, right? Whether you're fighting at Mega or fighting at Heavy, DK, I think, and Flames look pretty good. But I think it's the rest of the map that is kind of just, it's not really, you know, Flame Strike is not a great benefit to have. Now, prove me wrong, though, so I would love to see it. But unless, it just seems like a very specific situation where nosfa would be able to utilize that. If I was Rafa, I, you know, just clearly try to avoid those types of things. Now, it may just be zoning for control, which is definitely a possibility, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and I mean, to think about it, anything that DK can do, Sorlag can do better, because the spit is a big deal, and you also have the mobility, and you have the stack. So I don't know. I don't know how this is going to play out. I mean, health bubbles around the T-Con will save you if you do get hit with the acid of the Flame Strike. Conversely, down at the Heavy, you have a health bubble at the backstairs to try and cancel out the damage over time. But it's really about the positioning and how they're going to utilize it. It's all up to them and what they want to do. We're going to see it unfold. The last map of the regular season right in front of us between Rafa and nosfa for Week 18 of the Quake Pro League, and we are live.
We are live. Looking through the eyeballs of Rafa, who's going to get that Mega spawn and immediately gets himself a heavy machine gun. Says let's party. So see how he moves in here. He's just trying to get all armed up. Can't really get in to get an LG quite yet. Actually will meet nosfa to do it. There the spit comes out, lands a nice rail up the jump pad, but nosfa gets the jump on Rafa with a beautiful shotgun blast to take frag number 1. I don't think Rafa expected that at all.
Not at all. That was chunky. That was a chunky hit right there to put nosfa up on the board with 1. He's able to grab the Mega. Does miss out on the Heavy. The split between the two, not that big, but still, this is a good start for nosfa. He just needs to make sure he doesn't get caught out with anything crazy. Sorlag, again, very mobile and kind of sneaky with some of the movement sometimes, Wade.
Yeah, and I think that's what Rafa's going to try to capitalize with. He's deciding, hey, I'll play a rail game here, and does land 2 rails against his opponent. There we do see Flames coming out there to try to zone and not allow Rafa to come through that door, but he decides to come up the stairs anyway and returns that shotgun that, you know, all those bullets, what do they call it? Shot buck, right? They gave it all back to nosfa,
yeah. Marbles, whatever they are. I don't know. Yeah. Dice?
Yeah. Pennies.
Yeah, pennies.
Sorlag
whatever we
loads
got.
it up with pennies.
Wow, nosfa clutch, knowing he's going to go down, makes it worth his while. Gets that rail shot to tie it at 2, and this is a little bit sloppy from both players, to be completely honest. Earlier at the Mega, I don't know why nosfa extended instead of just waiting and grabbing. That's a fantastic rocket, almost followed up by another one to take the frag. Rafa hurt 58 HP, gonna have to grab that outer courtyard light. Is he gonna drop down and try and do some damage? Not worth it at the Heavy, not in the shape he's in.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting because we still see pressure being put on here by Rafa, right? Like shooting the rail from up above, down below, just trying to keep it going. There we did the Flames go out. That time it worked out great. And I think, you know, I like I said, I'd love to be wrong. And so far, nosfa has really used Flames to his advantage. And that was a great example of it right there.
Yeah, not bad at all, but he's going to need more of that. Lots of game left. And you could tell every time something like that happens, Rafa just clenches his fist a little harder around his mouth. And he's like, I'm not going to let that happen again. So we'll see. nosfa still pretty weak after everything. Grabbing the light, he might get caught out in the courtyard here. And Rafa on the chase. Okay. Maintaining ground, and now it's LG on LG. This is all Rafa right here with the LG in the stack, just able to melt down nosfa and tie it at 3.
Yeah, not sure that was the greatest choice of a fight to take, but did it anyway. Spit coming out, try to drop down, grab that heavy, does it cleanly, but still kind of hurting, not only on health, but, you know, not the greatest armor stack at all. I'm curious to see with the tie game here, no player has really had full control quite yet. It's sort of bounced back and forth. In fact, we're equal, 3-3-3-3 across the board, and damage just a little bit of an advantage towards nosfa.
Yeah, I mean, the major items are tied up. Rafa doing a little bit better on the lights, but he still hasn't been able to assert that dominance that he wants, to be able to deny stuff and take full control of the map. And that's because none of the fights are really clean for either player. Look at that, the rail, but then he eats a rocket right as he's coming out of the telly.
Yeah, oh, another rail going over to the heavy. Looking for a third, not going to happen. But as he gears up, I think he's not going to be able to contest heavy here. Is he going to go for it? Nope. He's going to decide that Mega's probably the best choice. So he grabs it. Now can he cut his opponent off? Does find him down below at LG. Misses that rail, however. And now nosfa just saying, I want to fight on my terms, but Rafa really looking to set up some sort of an advantageous fight for him.
Oh, big damage and a nice play from nosfa, but he's not able to get away. That trap was perfect from Rafa. And also, when Sorlag holds the shotgun, it's amazing because her nails are on fleek. I just want to say. Oh, the rocket. Oh my God, make it stop. nosfa, please, just don't go that way anymore.
Oh, yeah. I think just like really wanted that rail. Finally was able to get it, but at what cost? 40. Rafa up by 1. We're about to hit the 5-minute warning. And Rafa, I would say, with some control, but no one's really had dominant control quite yet. There's the heavy. Let's see if he's going to make it over to the mega. Rafa is there, looks uncontested. This might be his opportunity, 40, to really try to lock this map down.
Definitely. Picks up the mega cleanly. Big split between the items. He's just going to try and figure out exactly where nosfa is, do a little bit of damage, fall back on the items. And if it's clean enough, just push the advantage. And that rail was insanely clean. nosfa didn't even see it coming.
Oh, no.
Bad news bears, yep.
Yeah.
Even with the flame strike in the corridor, look at this. He's going to pick up the heavy. He's got bubbles waiting for him at the top of the jump pad. Doesn't even need it.
And, you know, just like NBA Jam, Rafa's like, I'm on fire! And he cannot pull this one out, though. He decides to drop down. The mega was up and there, but nosfa gets it. And I think he really needed that one to make sure that Rafa wasn't going to widen the gap between himself and nosfa. So... or rather with Rafa. And we're gonna have a fight here at the heavy. It is about to spawn. We do have nosfa on top of it, but Rafa somehow wins that battle. Some great LG and gives himself a 2-frag lead. Might even try to follow up. No, LG's out. nosfa does grab it, drops it back down to a 1-point game.
Preemptive flame strike to make sure that Rafa doesn't go through upper T-con, and that earlier fight just doesn't make any sense to me. Rafa should have had him dead to rights. nosfa pops off with the machine gun funk, a little bit of Biggie Smalls, and he's able to keep this one within 1.
Yeah, and with 4 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock, still a fair amount of time here. I think both players not wanting to see this get too far in terms of a gap. Obviously, Rafa would, I think, like some comfort. But nosfa doing a great job of keeping this pretty equal. Flame Strike's going to come out while getting bombarded or electrocuted there by Rafa. And Rafa just says, whatever, that's tickling me. And now a 2-frag game yet again. Some heavy machine gun damage coming out there, but more importantly, Rafa with that heavy, big LG damage. Not much nosfa can do, and suddenly Rafa makes this a 3-point game.
Needs a bubble, gets it just in time. Still very weak. nosfa able to grab the mega, and the split is big enough to where if he can get some weapons, he could probably contest this heavy too. Big rocket, another one is what he needs, but Rafa comes out on top, 15 HP, and nosfa's going to be kicking himself for that one. That was going to be a huge frag. Big rocket off the spawn as well. nosfa just not in time. Rafa able to steal the heavy.
Yeah, and I think he knew it. I think he knew he was done for. But if he stole the heavy, that was at least one less thing that nosfa had to try to string some frags together. So now nosfa just kind of burning to death from that acid, but does manage to stop it just as he is about to perish. 3 frags still. nosfa dropping those flames as he sees what's going on there at heavy. Rafa grabbed it, but I'm worried that Rafa's control has been too much here for the second half of the game against nosfa.
Yeah, and really good damage from Rafa again as he's slowing down on the T-Con here, trying to figure out where nosfa might be for this heavy. And he can concede with the 4 frag lead. He could play more defensive. He's going to live off this light, maybe look for exit damage at most, but he doesn't have to risk anything anymore.
And I think, that is where it gets really scary, especially in the matchup just with Sorlag versus the DK, where I think he has a lot more utility to be able to do exactly just that. Flames come out yet again. Rafa does go down, and there's a minute to try to string together 3 frags. When you don't necessarily have any speed or additional momentum on your side, can you do it? You've got to hope that your opponent's going to make some mistakes, kind of like this, where nosfa actually gets kind of a free frag there at the Mega. It was not up yet. Now Heavy is up. nosfa peeking it. This is like, I don't see anyone down there, so I'm going to grab it. But can he get 2 frags in 27 seconds?
And this all started with that rocket bounce that was actually not in favor of Rafa because it sent nosfa straight to the Mega. LG through the telly. It's going to have to take some weird finesse from Rafa, and the trade comes out, and that's going to be huge for him. That's exactly what he needed, and I think that's enough to put him over the top.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think in analysis of the game, Flame Strike actually wasn't as worthless as I thought it might be on this map. I think nosfa actually used it in a couple of situations where it worked out really great for him. I think the control from Rafa hit some nice shots. So a few decisions by both players that kind of resulted in some frags, but ultimately that's what he wanted. He wanted the 3-0 victory, did so with a 12-9. So congratulations to Rafa. Nice way to end the regular season and take it into QuakeCon.
Indeed. And sorry for the downgrade. We're going to bring back Lethal now because I wasn't supposed to be here. Lethal, I think you're all sorted. You're good. Are you okay?
I'm all right, mate. It was a tactical disconnect so that you can do maps 2 and 3. So
I know who you learned that from, too. You learned that today.
I learned from a couple of players, Shit. But I got a little bit towards the end anyway. But yeah, it was nothing short of spectacular once again. At least nosfa kept it quite close in maps 2 and 3. And again, it was sort of championship mentality coming out from Rafa and nosfa. Also looking pretty damn good himself. At least he kept it close and made sure to keep it competitive. And a lot of good adaptation coming out from nosfa across the board. But yeah, it was pretty tough. And made the Sorlag work quite well on Ruins.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big takeaway from this is that, even when I said I think Rafa will take a convincing 3-0, technically did, but would I call it convincing? Not so much. nosfa played well, And there was a couple of really, superstar moments there for him. Corrupted Keep was a little wild and chaotic there at the end. I still think that could have gone nosfa's direction, a couple different times. But I think ultimately that third map was, even though I said, hey, the Flame Strike, it worked for him, it still wasn't, I think, as effective as he needed it to be. But congrats to nosfa, for putting up a good game versus Rafa going into the final week here.
Yeah, and no matter what happened in the season, what's done is done, and now you just have to focus on LAN. That's what all the players need to focus in on as we take a look at the score breakdown for every map of this series. And we are trying to get Rafa on the line so we can have a quick chat. But yeah, I mean, nosfa kept it interesting. He kept it close on all the maps, so it's not terrible. looking forward to the next 2 weeks of practice, whether they're streaming or not. But really, it comes down to LAN. Can you perform on LAN under the lights? Do you have the endurance that you need, depending on if you're having to play the group stage day one or if you go straight into the brackets? It's just going to be awesome to see, and I can't wait to do it all live.
Yeah, should be pretty sick. I assume nosfa should be in the top 8 secured now, but of course we'll confirm that later on, and he'll be happy with that considering the circumstances. Maybe he had to take one map. I think it was a little bit worried considering he's playing against Rafa. It's hard to take a map, let alone a damn series off the guy. But I think obviously with the previous results we saw earlier on today, that should be secured, but we'll double check that.
Yeah, we'll bring those up a little bit later. Right now we're trying to get Rafa on the line, have a quick chat. I do have my super secret question. I thought of one.
God.
I thought of one.
Sick.
Yeah, it's going to be dope. It's going to be dope.
I'm sure it will be.
I've got a trophy ready to bring to QuakeCon to hand you if you really nail it. So
I hope it's made of chocolate, because that's the only trophy I care about.
It is. It's a chocolate and it's a shoe, so you can do a shoey out of it, and then you can eat the trophy.
Never been done before. I'm into that.
That means Zen has to do it with you, though, doesn't he? Because you can't do it
He's
alone.
always invited.
So.
Anyone's always invited. You at home, you could do whatever you want. So, feel free to join me in the shenanigans. Why not?
Why not?
That is true. Well done to you.
Gentlemen,
I did it. Yay me!
I know as we're waiting for Rafa to come. Again, really excited for QuakeCon right around the corner. We were talking about it before map number 1. Just the idea that I think Lethal said there's 6 players that could potentially take that belt. And as the game started, there was another point I wanted to make was I think there's also an additional 5 players that can just cause some ruckus and possibly some upsets in all of this as well. So I just think the sort of variables that exist going into this QuakeCon are going to make for a really, really interesting 3 days. So good luck to all the players, man. I absolutely can't wait.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward again to the prep. I know a lot of people probably won't stream it. I'm sure some people don't care and they will stream it. So keep your eyes peeled for all of the streams, all of the POVs. I'm sure as we get closer and closer, they might kind of disconnect and keep it under wraps. But I think a lot of players
Is that like a thing anymore?
Some people do, some people don't. I don't judge either way.
Quick play, right? I get it if you're playing a game that is maybe tactical. Not to say Quake is a tactical, but at this point they've just played each other for 18 weeks.
Yeah.
Is anyone really hiding anything that's good? I don't know.
Hey man, Series just played clutch. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
okay?
That's true.
That is true. Thought he just wants a kill pick, doesn't he?
For the love of God, yes. Everybody should pick Keel. We'll see. He got a buff. He's great. And plus,
I told you. Game 7 grand finals. That's when you're going to get it.
Yeah, and then somebody's going to lose, and they're going to be like, see, Keel sucks. And I'll be like, that's not why. That's not why it happened. And I'll lose my mind. But anyways, we're trying to get Rafa on the line. So yeah, it's been a fantastic season. It's always been a pleasure to share the booth with you guys. Thanks for, chat week in, week out, for being here, for the memes, for hanging out. PGL, fantastic production as always. Thanks for putting up with us. It's been real. We are going to get Rafa on the line for a final chat of the regular season before we go. And again, as a reminder, no Quake for about 2-ish weeks. QuakeCon live in Dallas from the Gaylord Texan Resort. It'll start off August 10th through the 12th, so make sure you tune in there. If you're coming out, say hi. I don't know how many people are traveling, but I hope to see a bunch of people there. The BYOC is going to be popping, so it's going to be great to have a live event after what feels like 18 years of not. So.
By the way, just as a quick reminder, it's going to be pretty cold in Texas, so make sure that you pack and dress accordingly, right? It's just I don't want you to get caught in the that's Texas blizzards in the summer.
That is true.
Bring a parka.
That is true.
And someone who knows Texas weather better than anyone, Rafa, is on the line. Let's get him in here. Rafa, congratulations on your victory. How you doing?
How you doing?
Good.
It's hot.
It's hot. I'll tell you that. It's hot. No parkas needed.
Well, inside the hotel, maybe. It'll be
That's
60
true.
degrees inside, 110 outside. So, got to come prepared for everything.
I'm going outside.
Love it.
You guys start.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll start. Rafa, congratulations on the series win. 18 weeks come and gone. I really think like I'd love to just get your thoughts on the sort of field of players going into QuakeCon, right? You're someone that's like, you prepare for tournaments. This is not something that is unusual to you. You've done it many, many, many times, resulted in many, many championships. But I think the general narrative that people are saying is that, you know, there's been so much leveling up by the players that, right, the top of the play field is just really impressive. As someone who is, you know, been a consistent champion over time, what is your analysis of the field of players going into this QuakeCon 2023 in comparison to just say like the last 3 years?
I think definitely even more than last year. I think that it's going to be even closer. I think last year you were looking at maybe like 5 people who could maybe win the tournament. And I think Maxter was the biggest surprise performance in getting 3rd place. But with this year, honestly, anybody within the top 8, you know, it's really going to come down to what does the meta feel like on LAN for champions this time around. Last year, it was very heavily light champion based and Visor. Just to try to explain it, it felt like their dodging felt much faster than usual, even on LAN, compared to before. So it made them very, very effective. Whereas like tanks who were able to kind of be played online, it was a tough time playing them. So, yeah. And coming down to a best of 5 format, if you're kind of stuck with certain picks, you know, it could be really tricky. But, you know, we'll see like how the game feels this time. Definitely have like different settings going into it with the FPS cap this year. And yeah, so I think it'll come down to, you know, most players at the top 5 play all the champions, but there are some that like it favors them more than others. So it'll be interesting to see like how that unfolds and who can adapt the best in terms of like drafting so that you give yourself the best chance, because everybody's going to be playing at their best, you know? So as long as you're giving yourself the best opportunity to have the closest, you know, slight edge margins of error going into games, you know, setting yourself up for success.
Awesome, yeah, you make a very valid point, because of course a lot of people, I wouldn't say had to improvise to a certain extent, but of course with the changes on LAN, people had to kind of change their thought process on how to actually come it. But they've had that experience. It's been quite a long time. It's been a year since then. In terms of your personal practice regimen, like what's your plan so far in terms of your preparation? Because I know you've been flying back and forth to EU and North America just to basically get the best prep you can get. In terms of the next couple of weeks, are you just going to be scrimming online and just trying to get the best you can out of the circumstances? Are you going to be boot camping and you're going to be do anything offline? Just wanted to know your take on how you're going to go about the next couple of weeks before heading into the Quake World Championships.
Yeah, I mean, QuakeCon is in Dallas, and I live in the area, so I'm not going anywhere. But
that's true. Makes a change.
But yeah, what I'll be doing is, because now we have what 2.5 weeks. Slowly each day, I will be ramping up the practice more and more. So like this week, it will be guaranteeing, you know, almost every day is at least 4 to 6 hours. But then the final week, you know, trying to get 6 to 8 hours a day and review in most days, and then find like one day to kind of just rest and kind of reset. I think it's really important to give your mind an opportunity to go over everything that you've done and not burn out. But you need to give yourself that stamina in case you lose in the upper bracket. You got to make that grueling lower bracket run. You don't want to get to the point where, you know, you just mentally fatigue and you just can't play at your best. So I think that's what everybody will be doing. As far as I've heard, I know nosfa is going to be coming to NA early. I believe Maxter is, possibly Avex. So, you know, along with Chain and Dramas, we'll be able, and Cygiv and Strong Sage, we'll have plenty here to play on like low ping conditions. So, and plenty of different play styles to play. So that's what I'll be doing over the next 2 weeks. And then if Europeans want to play with high ping, I'm down still. But, you know, most of them will probably be like, nah, I'll just wait till the event, and they'll keep playing on low ping to try to simulate LAN as best as possible.
Sure.
Cool.
Thanks for that, Rafa. Congrats again. And you kind of mentioned it yourself. I was going to ask, so being from Dallas, QuakeCon is a local event. Do you feel any added pressure to order the chicken salad from the resort, or no?
I mean, definitely not eating barbecue during the event. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
That's for after the event.
Okay.
So maybe the chicken salad. Hopefully they don't run out of it. You know?
Sweet. Yeah, I'll be the first in line because I need to see what the situation is. But Rafa, congrats, 3-0 to end the season. Put your stamp on
stuff,
it.
Mate.
Good
Thanks,
luck with
guys.
the practice, and we'll see you in Texas.
Yeah, see you in 2 weeks, man. Peace, guys.
Have a good one.
See you later.
You all thought I had a real question. Anyways,
I knew you did it the moment I saw Maxter say in chat. I
he ratted me
saw
out.
Maxter say, "Is the chicken salad question coming?" And I
Ratted me
saw
out.
40. I looked at you. I knew exactly if 40 just got this big shit-eating grin on his face.
I
and
have a tell.
like,
I didn't know I had a
know.
tell.
Yeah, you totally had a tell. Totally.
All right. I don't know if we can get the leaderboards, if they're finalized to production. Do we have a final leaderboard we can look at real quick and chat about? Awesome.
Boom.
So this is it. This is top 8. It's done. So Wenger, Razy, Rafa, Kilson, Zanaku, Maxter, Strong Sage, and Dramas made the cut. Actually, yeah, I guess I don't know how that works, because are they tied? Does Dramas have the tiebreaker over Avik? Yes? I think so, right? I don't know how this works. Somebody help me.
It'll go based on the head-to-head, though, I assume.
Right. All right. Well, assuming that this is absolutely correct, which people who are much smarter than me have put this together, we have the top 8 that get that first round bye and do not have to play in groups. So they can rest, they can practice, they can look at other people's games and study a little bit. That could be huge. As Rafa mentioned, going through the lower bracket and also group play, grueling. It's all about endurance. Razy is the prime example of someone who's put in so much work and had to make that journey through lower and just gets gassed by the end of it. You also get the disadvantage in terms of pick bans. So that is going to be huge. That's something to look out for. But this is it. This is the locked-in leaderboard that you'll all see in 2.5 weeks' time. And yeah, we did it. 18 weeks come and gone, as you said, DJ.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I feel like we should play the Vitamin C graduation song, but we don't have time for that, or probably not even the rights. So I'm just going to say once again, it's been
so awesome the last 18. I'm just kidding. I'm excited. Let's go. It's time for the finals. I'm so excited. No, it's been an amazing 18 weeks. This has been one of the most entertaining we've gotten to see, just like Rafa said, right? That top 8. Strong Sage is in the top 8, right? What a debut. This is beautiful, right? I think everyone comes here week to week, ourselves included, players, because they love Quake. It's going to be a giant celebration during QuakeCon. Great games, great people. If you've never been there, I'm sorry. I feel bad for you, but I'm excited to be there another year.
Lethal.
Yeah, it should be an absolute banger. I can't just echoing what Wheat said, really, apart from the emotional tears bit. But yeah, because it's going to be fabulous as always, and it's just nice to meet the community and the audience once again, isn't it? Obviously, it's been such a long time, and get to see everyone face to face once more. It's going to be fantastic. But yeah, honestly, it's going to be one of the most competitive Quake Champions events we've ever had so far, maybe even in history. So, you know, if you're thinking about coming down, or you're not thinking about coming down as of yet, you should.
Definitely consider it. Once again, from all of us at the show, thank you very much for tuning in. PGL, thank you for the broadcast. Thank you for keeping it professional and making us look great. Chat, thanks for being in chat, having fun, memes, even hating, whatever you want to do. You watched either way. Big thanks to everyone at Bethesda, id, Microsoft, everything that goes into this game. We appreciate it. We're going to be out of here. We'll see you in 2.5 weeks' time live. And don't forget to take care of yourselves and one another and pick Keel. See ya.
Peace.